We are joined right now by the head football coach at the University of Cincinnati. 5th season with the Bearcats. 2-time Conference Coach of the Year. Led the Bearcats to the conference title last season. Cincinnati is 4-0. They're number 5 in the AP poll, and they've got a big one. They're hosting Temple tomorrow night. We are joined by their head coach, Luke Fickell. Luke, it is so good to have you back. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Luke. Thanks for making time. Let me first ask you, I understand that the next game is always the most important game, but you're coming off a win over a top 10 Notre Dame team in South Bend. There's been so much talk that it was the biggest win in program history. Does it feel that way to you?
You know, they asked me that after the game, and my initial response was, you got to ask the people that have been here a lot longer than me. And I know it's probably is the biggest win since we've been here, you know, to go on the road, to break their 26-game home winning streak and things like that. But, you know, it's hard for me to really be able to say that because there were some special things that were done here in the past. And you know, but I know for us, there's no doubt that this was a huge hurdle for us to get over, finally beating the top 5 or 10 program in the country.
No doubt about that, and I've heard you talk about that, the importance of beating a top 5 program, a top 10 program. Thing is, too, it's not just that you won, but it's how you won. For instance, you were up 17-0 in the first half, then Notre Dame gets back in the game. What did you make of the way your team responded to the pressure of the moment, the big stage, and the way they finished that game?
I think that was the most impressive thing. We feel like we haven't really put it all together. You know, we've played some good halves and some good quarters, but for us to kind of be in that situation, to kind of be able to put it together there in the fourth quarter, you know, I kind of use the Desmond Ritter factor of having a leader and a quarterback and a guy like that, you know, is so calm, cool, and collective, and he's best when it's at the toughest and most difficult times, and he really proved and showed that. That drive, he let them down and scored a touchdown when they had basically all the momentum and really kind of, you know, handled the third quarter there. You know, it was huge for us and the entire program.
Look, you had to know that's where I was headed next. Desmond Ritter. He could have entered the draft after last season, but he decided to come back for another year. So what's that say about him, and then what does he mean to your program?
Well, it shows that, you know, he's aware of the things that he wants to be able to do, and it's not just, you know, take the program to the next level. It was a lot of, you know, it was individual things as well. And, you know, he's an intelligent kid that realized, hey, if I continue to grow, there's a greater opportunity that I learned here this year. It gives me a greater opportunity for the future, along with loving the program and his teammates and what it is that we've done here. I think that we're very fortunate not just to have him, but to have an environment and a culture, you know, that these kids want to be here. They enjoy playing. They enjoy coming to games like this weekend and, you know, having a sellout crowd at night and, you know, those kinds of things. I know everybody wants to get off to the next level, but sometimes these things are really special, and guys are intelligent enough to realize how special it is. You know, don't always just want to leave.
Cincinnati head football coach Luke Fickell is my guest. I'm going to go back to your culture in a minute because I'm really fascinated by that. I want to ask you one more thing about Ritter. Like, for instance, after that win, you talked about the fact that when you have somebody like that, not only do you have a chance in every single game, it's not so much even only about his ability, but also about his ability to make everybody around him better. It's not just that pure talent. Like, how much of an advantage is it that he's got that kind of thing, that intangible it, that makes everybody around him confident and raises everybody around him up?
Well, it's the uniqueness of the position, as we all know, the quarterback position, but that doesn't mean everybody has it. And he does have that factor that, you know, the confidence level that he creates by being who he is, you know, as a guy that everybody on the program has seen, you know, battle through ups and downs. It hasn't always been easy for him. And then to have that, you know, that confidence that permeates throughout, is something you can't buy. And you can try to manufacture it. I've seen it a few times in my coaching career, but we've definitely got a unique one in the sense that guy with that it factor is at that position that really has an opportunity to reach every single person and really kind of control your program.
So it's great to have a guy like that on that side of the ball, but you're trying to build something from the ground up. As an example, your offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrook, said, quote, a couple of seasons ago, I don't know that we could have scored 40 points on air, but as we've built this thing, it's become the expectation, end of quote. I understand that. However, the defense has also become a powerhouse. How would you describe the way you've built this program on both sides of the ball?
Well, we like to say it's from the inside out, and it starts in the locker room. You know, and meaning that you got to have an environment that guys enjoy to really work. And, you know, if you enjoy being around the people that you're around, I'm not saying they're your best, but if you enjoy being around them, you enjoy the work and the competition that you got. And then you really kind of, for us, we want to start with the big guys. Everything today becomes about, big shots and touchdowns and reading guys and, arcing guys and the schematics of how you win, whether it's offensively or defensively. And we really have always said, hey, it's going to be about how you move people, how the offensive line can move people, how the defensive line can own the line of scrimmage. And we've always kind of said, hey, we want to focus on those guys. I know the quarterback's the most important position, and everybody wants to see the ball thrown in the air. But we want to see what we can do in those trenches, and that's where we try to say, hey, this program is all about the building of the O-line and D-line.
Cincinnati head football coach Luke Fickell joining me for a few more moments. Something else that's really interesting to me in the way you built this thing. You said that the best defenses you had in Columbus were when you had, quote, 1 or 2 top-level dynamic first-round picks and then 6 to 8 really good guys who maximized everything they've got. I find that very interesting. Can you lay that out for me? What makes that combination so powerful?
Well, I just think that, sometimes it's really, the more not saying just stars, but it's hard to eliminate the human element. And when you've got those guys that maximize their potential, meaning they've got to play above their talent levels and things like that. They're by nature workers. They're grinders. They're by nature a little more humble in the sense that it's a part of the program. When I say we're an offensive line and defensive line driven program, that's not meaning that we only care about the O-line and D-line guys. But think about what O-line guys are made of. They don't get a whole lot of credit. They don't get a whole lot of fame. Their names really rarely ever get recognized. And you want to be about that because it's so difficult, with 11 guys and 22 guys. I mean, it's so difficult to be able to control those things, especially when you're having success. And, when you by nature have got, a couple of those, one alpha or 2 alphas, and everybody else is fighting to, get everything that they got. It just by nature, it creates what I think is the great football teams, and there's a bit of humility in team that's first and foremost.
I like that. So after the way the College Football Playoff Selection Committee treated you guys last year, it seems to me it would be pretty easy to say, you know what, we can't get a fair shot. And then you didn't get the ultimate result that you wanted against Georgia in the bowl game. I'm curious, how much did last season and those things set the stage for what you've done and can do this year?
Well, I think it's in twofold. I mean, I think our kids are they've got confidence, but I think really kind of the situation of what it is, we try not to allow ourselves to be disappointed by the things that happen outside of our control. And regardless of what the situation was last year, we had an opportunity to play a bowl game, to play against a top 5, 10 program in the country. And you're not satisfied ever, but I think that just the recognition of how close we were to doing what we wanted to do, I think was a motivating factor for me, but also for this entire program. And I think maybe had something to do with some of the guys that wanted to come back for another year. It just felt like it was unfinished business. They felt like we could grow and do even more things. And I think that was a huge kind of idea for us in the high tides, was those guys just weren't satisfied with where we were and believed in where we could go.
All right, so before I let you go, I said I wanted to circle back to culture. For instance, when you and I spoke back in 2018, you said something at that time that resonated with me about the passion to be a head coach and to take on this opportunity at Cincinnati. You said that when you were thinking about being a head coach again, you started asking different questions and researching different aspects, things like culture and development, as opposed to focusing on like defense. How much has the vision that you started developing at that time become a reality right now?
Well, I love, like I said, where our locker room is. And you don't always love where your team is. I mean, there's been games we played a half or we played only 2 quarters well. But I really do love where the locker room is. And to be honest, I mean, my son actually became a part of our team this year. And it was in big part because I wanted him not to be with me, but I wanted him to be in that locker room with every walk of life, guys who truly trusted, respected, and loved one another. And that creates some things that are different. It creates an environment that guys love competing and working at what they do. And so to me, yes, it's ever changing, and you always got to be on it. But it's really, I think, the heartbeat of what our team is. I know there's a Desmond Ritter. I know there's a Mike Gardner. I know there's Majay Sanders and big names. But the heartbeat is really the trust, respect, and love inside that locker room, the ability for those guys to really compete with each other and care for each other.
So finally, since you mentioned that, I'm really curious. What's it like to have your son there? As an example, way back in the day, Luke, I worked in my family business. I worked for my father and my mother, and I'd say, hey, yo, Pop, what's up? And my dad would be like, first of all, I'm not Pop. I'm not Pop at work. This is business. You call me by your first name. You're not going to be treated any better. In fact, I'll probably be tougher on you. What's it like to have your son there? And, I mean, are you dad or are you coach? I got to think you're coach.
It's pretty similar right there. I think he understood that when he walked in the door, and but it's great for me. I've never had an opportunity to be around my son or even coach or a lot of my kids. So just to be around, to have that around is something for me that is completely different, and I enjoy it a lot. But yes, it is my wife will ask me, "So, did you talk to your son today?" I'm like, "No, I don't get a whole lot of opportunities to talk to the freshmen, especially when they're on the scout team. It is what it is." And but it's great to just know that he's in the place where you really want him to be. And I don't mean with me, like I said, but in that locker room with those young men.
That makes perfect sense. Cincinnati's 4-0. They're number 5 in the AP poll, and they've got a big one coming up tomorrow. They're at home against Temple. Their head coach is Luke Fickell. Luke, really good to get caught up with you once again. I appreciate the opportunity. Great to have you on the show, and thanks so much for making time for us.
Always great. Appreciate you having me, and look forward to talking again.
It was great, Luke. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.